This is the future. This is not the past.
The new XFL will kick off in 2020.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
It's still football, but it's professional football reimagined.
This is our moment, our story to tell. This is history begun.
This is the XFL!
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of June 30th, 2019. I wish it was 2020. This is the road to 2020, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Bryant.
Tampa showcases are this weekend. All the presidents have been hired, and it was an interesting week for hot XFL gossip. This is episode 75. Long live the Seattle Sasquatches. Let me just say that at the top of the show, guys, because
none of that is confirmed. So
that is also not the name of this week's episode.
You know I'm at naming this week's episode.
No, I am vetoing that right now.
What about all the presidents then? Because we got all the presidents, Brian, 8 of them.
They are done. Officially official, all 8 presidents. None cooler than ours, of course, Heather Brooks Carrots. But still, yes, all 8 are announced, and these teams can start rolling, working together and trying to get this league off the ground.
Yeah, XFL Dallas got theirs. We got one in St. Louis. Hometown people, too. People have worked in those cities, much like Heather Brooks Carrots, friend of the show. And that's a good thing whenever the XFL is hiring people who know the markets, who are going to be able to work within them in those prominent president roles where community outreach, marketing is going to be crucial. And, of course, ticket sales, which are going to be announced pretty soon by the league in terms of being able to buy season tickets. That's exciting for a lot of fans. But, of course, Jake, a lot of people won't buy the season ticket till they know the team name. And today we're going to talk about the Seattle team name, a potential team name. But, again, another week goes by. How antsy are you getting as a fan knowing we don't have team names yet? Because, again, on social media, it's kind of all you see.
I've had ants in my pants for probably going on 6 months right now. Well, and it's really bothering me.
At least you don't have bananas in your pajamas. I'll say that. Last week was a fun show. Bryant goes to L.A. to the show. What's so funny?
Nobody had bananas in their pajamas. It was bananas wearing pajamas. That's the only ever.
That was the TV show.
Maybe on your coast, that's what they say. But
nobody has bananas in their pajamas.
I'm glad they don't, because if they did, it'd be a very rough situation, just like the start of this show. Jeez, oh man. Let's look back to last week, though. Episode 74 was a lot of fun. Bryant became best friends with the head coach of XFLA, and you coined a phrase, Bryant.
Just Winston, baby. That's all you need to know. That is the key to the XFL LA's success, I think, right there.
I don't know how you're not going to be an XFL LA fan now, Jake. We've got the coolest coach. We've got now a cool catchphrase that Bryant's going to put on a T-shirt. Just Winston, baby. You like it?
I like it, yeah. I don't know if he's going to be the coolest. I mean, he's not wearing button-up Hawaiian shirts and lays at press conferences.
Oh, so you're leaning towards Houston now all of a sudden, and June Jones. You know,
perhaps I am.
You know, our coach can punch your coach in the chest really hard.
I attest to that right here.
He can get up off that lawn chair and set that margarita down pretty quickly if he has to.
It's on the video as well. If you watch our This is the XFL Show YouTube page, which we're highly encouraging you to subscribe to. Our YouTube channel's got all sorts of extra content you won't get on the podcast feed and isolates a lot of the interviews. Go there and watch the Winston Moss scrum from last week. And him and Brian are such good friends that they roughhouse, and he gives Brian a little hit to the gut there. Brian, I hope you're okay. He got you good, but you deserved it.
I don't know if I deserved it or not, but it's just playful little, banter. It's all good between me and Coach Moss. Jake, we have the best coach. I mean, it's just hands down. I'm not going to turn this into the XFL LA show like Norm Chow wants us to do for sure. Which, by the way, we're friends as well. I don't know if you know this or not.
Last week, that interview on YouTube as well.
Last week, yes, lots of stuff on YouTube. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to stay up to date. We put a lot of extra content for free on there, so check that out. But last week's show did turn into an LA circus somewhat, Alan, but it was still a lot of coverage, a lot of great insight. Never did I think it was going to lead into the week that we have coming up now. That we're going to discuss about so many rumors. I guess LA just steers the pot, baby. Is this what it is?
Hot XFL gossip we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, last week, you're right, it was the LA Circus. The full roster list came out a little bit late. Really, thank you so much to the league for getting that out to us, though. When they got it, they gave it to us, and we got to see all the players, the list of players that partook in the XFL Summer Showcase in Los Angeles, and really cool to see a lot of USC and UCLA guys. And now today we're going to talk about going to Tampa, where the league is going to have their biggest Summer Showcase so far. And not counting Tampa Bay guys, we're keeping track. We've got it up on the Patreon, the official list. We are tabulating every conference represented at these summer showcases in the NCAA, as well as FBS, FCS, and elsewhere. Brian's doing a great job with it, so go check that out. We're putting it at XFL Show on all social media, linking back to the Patreon, of course. And not counting the Tampa Bay Showcase yet, Jake, the Pac-12 is actually in the lead with the most representation at the summer showcases so far.
Yeah, they are in the league right now. Bryant, I'm sure, is happy about that. I'm not sure if the Tampa Bay Showcase is going to do anything drastic enough to overthrow that number one spot, but we'll have to see about that.
Oh, I definitely think it will.
Huge yeah,
I definitely
think some ACC guys, SEC guys there, and don't forget we still have St. Louis after that too, so those are all going to get thrown. I don't expect the Pac-12 to stay in the lead for too long. Also, Alan, I mean, we're going to talk about it, but this is the biggest summer showcase coming up, or I guess that's just happened if you're listening to this now in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, if you're listening, obviously we record the show Friday, so Friday night, the day before the showcase, and if anything major happens, we will insert some extra content into the show, into the main feed, but of course always first and foremost to the Patreon for our gentle patrons. Go check it out and subscribe and give to any tier of your choosing, because that's where we are quickest on the draw. But the Tampa Bay Showcase, 150-ish players going to be there. So big, lots of SEC talent, lots of ACC talent, lots of names we already released that we recognize. I will tell you, Bryant, some fighting words from someone who's conspicuously absent this week. Vince did say that our league is in trouble if the Pac-12 has the most representation. I don't know if that's a jab at you or what, but I disagree with that.
There's plenty of great players out in California. I don't understand. They just, I think there's a California limit in the NFL is really what I think it is.
I think it's just, it's conference supremacy. The battle rages on. If you're a college football fan, it goes from rooting for your team there all the way into the pros. I love it, and I love this table that you've put together, Brian. So cool. Go check it out on our Patreon page and all of our social media at XFL Show. Yes, for free. You could see Power 5, Group of 5 representation at all these showcases. It's really cool, and we're going to get into the Tampa Bay Showcase here in just a little bit. But another thing from the previous week, I mean, Jake, it's like you took a match, you went to the internet, and you just lit it on fire. And I don't know if you know what you did. I honestly don't even.
I know he doesn't know.
I don't even think you understand what you did to the internet this week, Jake, with your article you wrote on our Patreon about XFL expansion and what the league should do when it comes to that topic. You came out against it immediately, and I mean, just so much reaction on social media for us and the league and people talking about it. You really lit a flame there, Jake. You're crazy.
Well, I mean, you guys know me. I like to play it safe. I don't like to stir the pot usually, but yeah, I mean, looking at some of the results, I mean, nothing too negative. I don't think it seems fairly cordial from what I've been looking at. But if you're not privy to this, I wrote a short article about expansion and should the XFL do it and should they not. In short, my answer was no. At least, even at the current stage, the league hasn't started yet. But I would say no, you got to take it slow. But I did explain a little more in depth about that, and that is up on the Patreon for anyone to read, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is for free article. And so many people read it and reacted to it. I mean, just lots of activity regarding that article this week, Bryant. And when I looked at it and assessed it, I tried to gauge how people were leaning. I almost feel like it was 50-50 in terms of who agreed or disagreed with Jake's stance there. How about you?
Well, yeah, I would say it's 50-50. A lot of people's reactions were like, no, but if you do, this is what you should do as well. I think the general census is let's get through the first season. Let's try to make it through 2021 before we start thinking about more teams and things like that.
Yeah, it's real. I will say that the mind flayer from Stranger Things is attacking Western Pennsylvania tonight, so you might be hearing some thunder and lightning.
That was scary.
in the background of this week's episode. Just a heads up.
Just to put it out there, guys, it's like 85 degrees out here, nice and sunny day. I'm thinking I'm going to go after this, by the way. No, so in all honesty, it was a lot of reactions to what people thought. And I did like some people's ideas, Alan.
Yeah.
A lot of people saying you should attack the AAF markets.
Let's read it.
If you do decide to do this.
Let's read it. Yeah, some people I even saw someone tweet out a map. What if the XFL absorbed the AAF and what the map would look like with the 16 cities? So really interesting. But here's some reaction we got to Jake's article. And Jake's probably hearing this for the first time because I don't think he goes to Twitter, I think, once a week. McMillan Brendan on Twitter says, if they were to, then should be slowly maxing out at 16. Jerome from Beeham said, Beeham would be a great place for a team. And that sparked a whole other conversation where I saw someone say the New Orleans Saints are going to leave New Orleans for Birmingham. I don't know about that, but that sparked a side conversation even. At Tampa XFL said, I think you have to play it slow. Make sure you have a good product before trying to grow too fast, similar to what you said, Jake. If the product is good, the growth will be easy. I think perfect scenario would be to end up with 16 teams by the 2026 season. They even put a hard date on there. The hardest part will be picking expansion cities. I would hope they'd expand before 2026, guys.
Well, I mean, when you say that, do you mean expand by 2 teams or expand by 8 teams, as that gentleman was saying? That means that's a lot.
8 teams
I don't
by
think there's
6. How long did it take the NHL to go away from the original 6? Took a while.
I think it took a while, and then they just did like 4.
6. They did 6. Right?
They did 6.
They doubled.
Second 6.
At Big Play Trey said, take it one season at a time. Don't expand too fast, too soon. Build it slow and solid. Slow and steady wins the race seems to be the general consensus. I would say it's kind of a touch and go situation. If the league sets it on fire this year, then expand next year if you can. If there are cities clamoring for your product, you give it to them. I don't think this is a thing you decide right now. You decide it as you go along, Brian.
Well, it's also, yeah, for sure. And I also think this is something that's definitely going to affect the quality of the play. You're going to stretch yourself a little thinner if you keep putting more teams in your league. So that's the other thing you have to take into account. If there's an excess amount of great players that you cannot fulfill with your rosters, your available space, then yeah, you would also think about expansion in that sense. You have to look at a lot of different factors. I would say personally that expansion is probably not on Oliver Luck's checklist, as we talked about last week.
Yeah, I don't think it is at all. And now listen, if you want to put 2 more teams just to make this thing even in February 2021, you have to be I would think you've got to be getting stuff in place right now. And that seems far too premature. I mean, I don't think you can get everything done. Okay. In 12 months.
I'm don't make me throw the whistle sound effect in here, but I don't want us to go off the rails. This feels like an entire extra episode kind of topic to me, Brian. I don't know about you. This feels like something we could totally dive into for a good half hour to an hour, maybe even more on our YouTube page or on Patreon. So let's
I agree with that.
Let's hit the pause for the cause then, so we can get through the rest of the show.
I agree. We might have to reach out to our listeners to remember to hit that XFL fan line as well if you have any comments or concerns about expansion as it pertains to the XFL.
Yes.
724-565-4XFL.
Good man. 724-565-4XFL. Remember that number, save it in your phone, and call the XFL fan line anytime. Literally anytime. You wake up at 3 in the morning to get a really late snack. While you're down making a sandwich, call the XFL fan line and let us know what you think about your ideas for expansion or against it or whatever. Any thought regarding the XFL, that's what it's there for. Our voicemail's open, and we'll play your thoughts on the show if you want. So anytime you want at 724-565-4XFL. And the Patreon is where you go to have, I would say, a first-class seat on the road to 2020, Brian. It's the best way to ride there.
And I'll tell you what, from personal experience, just coming back from my honeymoon, first class is the way to go. Yes, Alan, the Patreon is where you want it. You get full access to all articles before we send them out to the general public. You also get a lot of bonus episodes that we're just kind of talking. Alan and I like to talk football. Who doesn't, right?
Who doesn't?
You're going to get those as well. Jake and I and Vince and Alan have bonus episodes every single month covering a specific topic. This month we are covering... Alan, I think we're covering if the XFL should have a single location for their championship game. Is that correct?
Yes, the June bonus episode will talk about the conference alignment, the championship game. And the thing is, on our Patreon page, you're guaranteed one bonus show, one full bonus episode a month at a certain tier. We've got them from $1 all the way to $25. You give where you can, where you feel most comfortable. But like Brian said, we like talking football so much, and we're so excited for the XFL. We're doing extra shows all the time. Brian and I did a mini episode this week about the signing of Tier 1 players. We've got one coming up as well regarding possible NFL quarterbacks on rosters right now we think could be in the XFL. It's going to only get bigger and better on the Patreon. So the time is now. Get in where you fit in with us on the road to 2020. Luxury ride down that road to 2020 at This Is the XFL Show's Patreon page. That's patreon.com/This Is the XFL Show. And since we're not stalling anymore, we could go on and on about this, Jake. I'd like us to get some order. How's that for a change? I'm getting you in order, Jake, because this week we've got to talk about some big things going on with the league when it comes to the signing of players and also the ever popular team names issue. That's right. It's this week's Cover 2.
Going for 2. Go for 2 and the lead.
All right, first up in this week's Cover 2, Brian and I did a special mini episode on our Patreon page. If you general patrons caught it, it was a doozy because we basically both vehemently disagreed with each other about how the XFL should go about signing their Tier 1 quarterbacks. Bryant believes, on one hand, that the league should be incorporating these players into a draft and the Tier 1 players should just be drafted. I, on the other hand, subscribe to a rumor that came out this week from the Seattle Times that these players should be given preferential treatment when signing with the league, and they should maybe even be allocated to teams. The argument stems from a Seattle Times article where Oliver Luck was quoted as saying that Tier 1 quarterbacks will sign with the league, and the league is considering allocating them instead of making them a part of the draft. So they'd be separate from the draft we anticipate coming in October. Oliver Luck said that they're looking at the backup quarterback battles in the NFL, and players like those on the back end of NFL rosters that play quarterback are the targets. This could also mean something totally different, too, because this is all rumors. This is all hot gossip. So this could also mean that the league is maybe going to sign all 8 guys and then disperse them according to some other criteria we don't know about or some other process besides a draft or free agency. Brian and I argued about this for, I don't know, Brian, what was it, a good 30 to 45 minutes, that episode? It was supposed to be much shorter, and it went on and on and on. So you and I already got our spiel out about it. I've been waiting all week. Jake, what say you about this issue?
Well, first, I want to clarify something. We're just assuming that the tier ones are all going to be quarterbacks.
That's what I said as well.
That's another thing Bryant brought up, and my answer to that was, in a word, duh, because they have to be.
I mean, my word would be probably for that. Okay, so we're saying,
for the sake of argument, let's say it is all quarterbacks, Jake. Let's just
okay, all right. Well, let's say it's all quarterbacks. So you're saying the league perhaps would want to sign these guys and then tell them where they want to play for the league's benefit of competitive teams.
Or the league could be signing these guys in a negotiation process where they say, I will come into the league if I could play for XFL Dallas, for instance. Or I want to be the quarterback in LA. The players have a choice. Don't you think, and I'm going into, I feel like I'm a lawyer here. I'm arguing for my point now, Bryant. But Jake, don't you think it makes sense for the quality of the play, for the football to be as good as it possibly can be?
Good, crisp football. Yeah.
For the league to get quarterbacks who will blend well with the coaches, maybe have some familiarity. An example we'll give, Landry Jones joining XFL Dallas. Don't you think if Bob Stoops wants Landry and Landry wants Bob Stoops and the league wants Landry because he's got the talent, he's an NFL quarterback right now, don't you think, well, not right now, but he recently was. Don't you think the league should maybe give him the opportunity to kind of choose where he plays, put the contract in order, and just let him play for a team instead of having him put into a draft where he randomly lands on a team, or instead of having some other process that's randomized, instead of putting quarterbacks in the perfect place that they want to be at, where the coach wants them, where everybody blends and meshes well, at least at the start? Don't you think that makes the most sense for the quality of the product?
I understand what you're saying. So, you are giving some power to the quarterbacks, basically. They're saying, I want to play here or else I'm walking. I'll take my chances that somebody's going to get hurt in week 2 and that they're going to pick me up. So, sure, that makes sense. But, Bryant, I'd like to give you a little rebuttal on this.
Oh, thank you, Jake. I thought Alan was just going to take all this time and continue his spiel.
I could go all day on this, baby.
Yes, I know, and we did. And I actually kind of ended that conversation quite angrily. I don't want to go into too much details because I do want to give our Patreons the advantage of actually listening to this on our Patreon. But I will say this: I think that you sign your 8 quarterbacks for your tier 1 contracts and you put them in the first round of a draft. It's very simple. You decide who you want to go where. What if, and here's the argument against it, Jake, as well, is that what if you have a running type quarterback, a scrambling quarterback, and he wants to play in LA? What if Winston Moss doesn't want that type of quarterback? And he only wants to sign if he signs in LA. That becomes a conundrum, something you don't want to have to deal with friction. Winston Moss doesn't want that kind of quarterback. He wants his own type of quarterback. He's going to take his chances in a draft. I just think a draft, if you sign all 8 quarterbacks, everybody can decide who's good, who's not, who's going to work for them, who's not, and then you draft them into place.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying also. You're putting personal responsibility, which is something we don't have that much in this world right now, on the teams, on the presidents / general managers or whoever is picking these guys. If they want to pick quarterback X in the first round, then they're stuck with him. If they think they want to choose a back as their first pick, well, then that's up to them. And if that back is, if he stinks like a pair of socks all season, then that's your fault.
Yeah, and also I have Oliver Luck recorded on my phone saying basically, hey, all of our players are going to go through the draft process. That's what he said. So I'm assuming that means quarterbacks as well. It means tier 1 players. Alan, I understand what you're trying to get at. I just don't think it's fair for the competitive balance. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think you have to worry about that, and I don't remember the T-shirt.
No, but you're not putting competitive balance. No. You're not putting competitive balance. I don't want to get all heated again because I got hot on the Patreon.
It could.
He almost punched me through. He almost punched me through the computer, Jake. He's been hanging out with Winston Moss too much. No.
I brought Alan to the hotel room. I grabbed him by the neck.
No. So I think what I came up with on the show, the mini-sode this week, was the quality of the play doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be fair in terms of signing the players. What you need to do is have a conversation. So what the league should do is have all eight coaches come up to a league meeting, and everybody claims, this is the guy I want as my tier 1 quarterback, XFL, because the league is signing these players to league contracts, right? This is who I want. Every coach should say that. Let it be known. The league, and then maybe they're already in contact with these players. I'm guaranteeing you, the vast majority, if not all of these coaches, if they want a quarterback, they're going to be in communication with that quarterback themselves as the general manager, and they'll probably maybe even already be on the same page because they're going to know there's interest from the player in playing in the XFL. And if not, if they're asking for assistance from the league, then that's where it gets a little, there might be an issue. You got to see what the player wants. But I'm guaranteeing you a lot of these quarterbacks are already going to be on the same page wanting to play for a coach. The coach is going to want them. And if that's the case, why not just sign them up and let them play for the guy they want to play for?
Okay, but what if multiple teams want the same quarterback? Then do you just give the power to the quarterback?
That's where the voice comes in.
Where do you want to play?
That's where the voice comes in, is where Bryant says, so there's some sort of draft process or some sort of spiel or some sort of, I don't know, coin toss or some sort of behind the scenes deal that is struck, maybe, where the tier 1 quarterback is going to go where they go, and maybe a team will be compensated for that. I don't know.
The three coaches vying him will win the quarterback via a game of Jenga in the back.
I don't know. I don't know about Jenga. I don't know about the voice. I don't know about all that. All I know is that if you want the best possible quarterbacks, if you want what are the 3 important words that Oliver Luck has been stressing, Bryant? I want to make sure that you still remember those.
Good, crisp football.
If you want good, crisp football, you need to sign good quarterbacks for this league. We all know it. And if you want good quarterbacks, they're probably, most of them, on NFL rosters right now. And they are 3rd string or 4th string quarterbacks. And if you want those guys to play in this league and not just sit on the bench every Sunday or sit on a practice squad collecting a paycheck, you need to, I think, give them the incentive, location, coach, all the opportunity to play, and some say in where they're going to be going. If you give them that, you're going to get the guys you want. And that's the most important thing, because if you tell them we're going to sign you to a league contract and then throw you in the draft, I don't necessarily think you're going to be able to get the guys you want.
Jake,
it's a long conversation. I understand what Alan is saying. Again, what if 3 out of those 8 quarterbacks want to go to Dallas? What if nobody really wants to go to Tampa Bay?
I think
I don't know, but yeah, it's best. I will admit it would be.
I think you're asking a lot of hypotheticals that really are.
I think this is all that we've been talking.
It feels a lot like this wedding planning deal that I'm going through right now. I mean, what if a meteorite hits the Earth on the day of the wedding? If that's the case, then it's 1,000,000 to 1. I think most of the time, coaches are going to have their guys they want, and they're going to be able to come to some sort of verbal agreement on the same page. I don't think it's going to be that difficult for the league to get players to come and play if they make it this process that isn't so rigid and random, like a draft for the tier 1 top players in the league, which are the quarterbacks. You play ball with the quarterbacks, they're going to play ball for you.
Oh, Alan.
What? Don't just Alan.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this. I think Jake's on it.
Should we put a bet on this between you two whenever we find out how this is going to play out?
I mean,
this would be the second bet we put on each other, because I think we put one, Alan, this week on our "This Is Not the XFL" show also on our.
Yeah, I got $5 and an icy light on the Giants having a better record than the Jets. That's a whole nother show. But I mean, okay, I could spit this on this topic all day long and tell you why it makes sense. All you're telling me is that it goes against the competitive balance. What does that even mean, Brian?
It's not allowing for the teams themselves to decide how good or bad their teams are. You're allowing the players to dictate this. Oliver Luck, if you remember the AAF, I'll go back to that. AAF had geographic allocations, right? They were assigning players based on where they played their college football. If you do that, you diminish the fair play. You really do, because you're telling people who they have to get and who they can't get and deal with what they have. In this sense, you let the teams decide their fate. Imagine in the first round of the NFL draft, people were like, I want to play in there. Like Eli Manning. Everybody chastised Eli Manning because he didn't want to play in San Diego. Imagine if that was the rule for everyone. Oh, I don't want to play there. I want to play over here. So you draft me or I'm just going to wait.
If you're good enough, it kind of is the rule, I guess.
It is.
No, it's not. He's the last player to ever do that.
Yeah, but him and John Elway both did it. And you know what? If you've got the stroke, if you're a player, I say all the power to you. And sometimes giving some power to players isn't all that bad. I'm telling you, the quality, the synchronicity, the understanding between coach, player, and offense, and that translates to the quality of the entire league is going to be so much better if the process of signing tier 1 quarterbacks is done behind closed doors in more of a free agency type manner than if they are randomized and put into a draft where you brought it up. The allocations was an issue for the AAF. All the good players go to Orlando. They dominate the league, but also this is one player you're allocating, and also it's one player you're negotiating with, and it's one player that's really important to the team. The rest of the league is going to be competitively balanced through a draft. I don't see the issue with tier 1 players going through this process separately. It's one player, Brian.
It's the player, Alan. It's not one player. It's your
This isn't the NBA,
player.
though. This isn't the NBA where one player is going to mean everything for the game, but it's going to be an important player for how those offenses are run. But it's not going to mean, translate to wins.
And Alan, what if you don't get 8 players that you could sign? What if you get 8 players that you can't get to be quarterbacks that want to play in certain areas? Like, there's so many ifs other than a draft. The draft seems like the most simplest process, honestly.
It is simple, but I'm telling you, for the quality of the play, sign those quarterbacks ahead of time and let them choose their team. Hey, let us know, football fans, what you think, because this is, I would say, the most argued topic we've had yet on the road to 2020, and it's definitely the most important because you are talking, Brian said, the top players in the league. Let us know what you think at XFL Show, and it's an argument that's going to go on until these players get signed. And you want to make that bet? Should we make the bet, Jake? Set up the bet. You brought it up. I'm always down to bet. What are we putting up on the line now? Cactus cooler?
I don't. No. Let's think about it. Let's think about it. Let's just try to cool down a little bit, and can we start talking some team names here, or at least speculation.
You know what, Jake? In the interest of fairness and friendship and brotherhood, yes, let's talk team names for once.
I don't know, Brian. I think I like arguing. I like arguing with you. I like arguing with you, Brian, way more than I like talking team names and the impatient people who want team names. But this week we did get some juicy gossip regarding one team name at least. And can we have a moment of silence for the team name that never was, that probably will never be, the Seattle Sasquatches? I'm just so sad.
We told you this like months ago. I don't know why you
set
keep
yourself up for disappointment.
Sasquatches are going to be a team.
I can dream, can I? Well, dream no more. The Sasquatches, it appears, will not be happening in Seattle. Dream over. Trademark lawyer Josh Gerben put out a really cool video. Really highly suggest at Josh Gerben. Watch his video. A trademark lawyer. He's in a firm that's in D.C., I believe. Tweeted on Thursday that the XFL filed trademarks for 5 team names in Seattle. And none of them are Sasquatches, which I thought they would be. But they're okay. Let's go through them. Seattle Wild, Seattle Force, the Seattle Surge, Seattle Fury, and the Seattle Dragons were all trademark applications filed by the league. Which do you like the least, the most, and why didn't they go with Sasquatches, Jake?
Oh, they didn't go with Sasquatches because that's a bad name.
No.
Unless you're making a comedy movie or something like that. Seattle Surge. It's all about alliteration. That's your number one here. Only one of these names ends in an S, so I don't like that. But that has been the recent trend lately. But yeah, the Surge. I think far and above is the best.
Soda pop. You want them named after a soda pop, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
Surge. It's a fully loaded citrus soda with carbos.
That's knockoff Mountain Dew, Jake. You want
We
this?
already have a wild team. Force and Fury is it's just not that good. And Dragons, I don't know. Is there a connection between Seattle and Dragons that I'm missing?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
I mean,
back
I don't think really any of these team names have a connection to the city other than Wild.
Other than Sasquatches, you're right. Yeah, Surge is my least favorite. It is a soda pop.
Oh my gosh, it's the best.
No, it's a soda pop, and the name of
You
someone
think whenever people hear the word Surge, they think of pop and green bottles.
They
from
think
the
of
mid-90s.
they think
They
of
really do,
90s
Alan. They
soda
really do,
pop.
Jake.
Yes, or they think of their Eastern European friend named Surge. It's not a team name. Dragons is where you go with.
The Seattle Sergios? Is that what you think it is, Alan? Is that what you think?
Dragons is to XFL 1.0.
Here's why I don't like the Dragons. Alan, Sasquatches was never going to happen, so just sit down. I like Wild, Force, and Surge, and the main reason I like those names is because it leans towards LA being the extreme once again. That's the path that the XFL is going, so that's why I like those three.
I think XFL. I mean, LA can still be the extreme regardless of any other.
But if you start going after animals, then you can't have an extreme. If you start going through a path that allows you to have these like fierce, forceful names.
Listen,
like
we've
Wild,
had
Force, Surge,
Maniacs and Rage and Extreme all together before. I don't think it matters.
I thought
those
we
are
were
all the same.
I thought we were trying to get away from that from the 2001 XFL team names. I mean, I want the extreme, Brian. I'm with you there, but your Wild, Force, Surge, Fury, all these names are just like Rage. They're just like Enforcers. I mean, these are similar type, very 90s type names to me. One is even a 90s soda pop. If we want to make this something a little more special, at least of these names, go with Dragons. Dragons are awesome. Dragons are cool.
It just seems like Seattle Dragons would be in a movie or something.
I think they could all be MLS teams other than Dragons, really.
Actually, the MLS is steering away from that. Man, MLS is just going with.
Or sometimes just FC.
They're just going with FC now because that's what it's. These are like Oliver Luck says, gimmicks. These seem too gimmicky to me. Dragons is okay because I dig dragons and Sasquatches, but the other four not a fan. So
was somebody the Dragons in the NFL Europe? I thought I remember a logo. Or
we had Ryan Fire,
some type of
Frankfurt,
maybe sea creature that may or may not have existed or something.
Schnitzels. What were the Frankfurts?
I pictured in my mind.
Yeah, I gotta believe there was a Dragons in NFL Europe. If you want to look that up real quick, Brian,
or at least a logo or something.
I like Dragons.
Barcelona Dragons.
The rumor is that the NHL team in Seattle, Bryant, might be the Kraken, or at least that's what they wanted. Dragons would fit in line with a city that has Kraken for a mascot for another team.
It's not going to be the Kraken. These are.
The NHL team they were very seriously considering Kraken. So was the rumor.
I don't believe that ever had a chance of being real.
I would have liked it. I mean, Dragons are cool. They probably couldn't. It's because Jake couldn't get the rights to Seattle Ghidorahs or Rodans and just tie it in with the new Godzilla franchise. That would have been cool. But of these five, I go Dragons. Brian, did you pick a favorite of these five?
I said that I didn't pick a favorite. I like the grouping of I would say the Force would probably be my favorite.
Seattle Force.
I don't think you can go Wild because there's a professional team already.
Force sounds
I don't think that's not why.
Force sounds too forced. I'm with I do love alliteration, Jake, I will say.
That's what I'm talking about.
They're not offering it to you with these names. That's the only thing.
Surge.
Yeah.
Can't go Surge. It's a 90s soda pop.
Who says soda pop? It's a soda. Can't say both. Either pop or
soda. It's a
That's
pop.
soda pop.
It's a soda. It depends. Well, I'm covering for multiple regions in the country, Brian, because some people say soda, some people say pop. On this very show.
Surge. It's a fully loaded citrus soda with carbos.
And it was really bad for you. I know my parents didn't let me drink it. It probably had all sorts of bad chemicals in it. Go with Dragons. Long live the Seattle Sasquatches is what I say, and that's the title of this week's episode, Bryant.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you, I'm throwing my veto in there. It's not.
All right. Well, if they're going to be the Seattle Surge, I wonder what the Tampa Bay team will be. Will it be pirate themed? It would make sense. We'll find that out with all the other teams. Before that, we do know that there are going to be a ton of players in Tampa Bay for their summer showcase. Hey, Brainiacs, Long Island Iced Tea here. And this week, we're going to talk Pro Graps with you. We're coming off of what was a very interesting Stomping Grounds pay-per-view that made me barf at the end of the show. But hey, professional wrestling, it's ups, it's downs. We got Fyter Fest this week, Triple J.
Yeah, we got Fyter Fest, and we also have the fallout from Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. I know everybody wants to know what happened on Monday Night Raw, just like I do, but you're going to have to wait till Sunday morning.
You're going to have to wait till Brainbuster Radio, Brainiacs, to talk all the professional wrestling from New Japan to WWE, AEW, all the backstage rumors as well, with two prominent figures taking prominent roles with the WWE. Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There always is. It's professional wrestling. It's Brainbuster Radio. At the Brainbusters. Tweet it, read it, tout it, shout it, be all about it on Twitter, Instagram Junior, Facebook, or just go to brainbusterradio.com. So what do you say we talk about all these players in Tampa Bay and talk about all these players we've seen so far? Summer showcases, we're down after this weekend to only one. And we're going to discuss all the players we've seen so far. It's a very important discussion about what else? The quality of the play.
It's the quality of the play.
It's time for this week's Hot Read.
Blue 58! Blue 58! Go!
Hey, Ric Flair! Ric Flair! Pepper, Flip, Caliber. Motown, Happy, Jolly, Drunk, Buster, Boomer, Tiger! I think he's got a hound too, Rodney, I think.
B-19! B-19!
Hey, Seattle! Where are you? Mars 83! Omaha!
Tampa Bay, the summer showcase for XFL's Florida team, will feature around 150 players, by far the largest summer showcase yet. Unfortunately, Bryant, you or I won't be able to be down there for this one. Oh, I wanted to go so bad, but it's going to be good, and we're going to get a lot of good news out of this and a lot of interesting things coming from players themselves, because we've got some players we really recognize at this one for sure. Ryan Mallett, quarterback who played for the Texans, the Patriots, and notoriously slept in and missed, practice, a flight to a game? I don't remember, but he had an unfortunate demise in the NFL, but pretty decent quarterback. He'll be there. BJ Daniels, a legendary Big East quarterback, USF, he'll be there in his hometown, Tampa Bay, or college hometown at least. Matt Jones, a Redskins running back, played at the University of Florida, will be there. Safety Matt Elam, a hard-hitting safety, will be there as well. Guys, 7 showcases in after this weekend. We've seen names like these names and a bunch of other names. Do the names, just the names of the players at these showcases, convince you that the quality of the play in the XFL is going to be where it needs to be? Because if you're going by you're only as strong as your weakest link, will the weakest portion of the XFL rosters, which we're being told will be the players coming out of the showcases, Will they hold up these links?
Alan, I mean, just based on the names that are going to show up to Tampa, as a quick side note, and the amount of players, is there no doubt why the Orlando Apollos were the best team in the AF? I mean, this is just ridiculous how many players are coming out of there. Anyway, to answer your question, I would say there's more recognizable names now for the XFL, even though they're not officially signed, than there were for the AF when they started announcing rosters. I don't know if that had to do with pay or availability or anything like that, but I definitely think these names are going to help balance out the lower quality, like you were saying, players that are available right now at the summer showcases.
How about you, Jake? Now, you're not as big of a roster nerd as some of us, so I'm really interested to hear what you say.
Well, there's a lot of guy out there, like you said. We're having a lot in Tampa. For myself, although I am, I consider myself a diehard football guy, but I'm not really a roster or a personnel guy, kind of like you two, or especially Vince. I cannot put a draft class together, or give you a depth chart, but from what I saw, so far, there are recognizable names out there. But I still think you have the ability for good, crisp football, but you're just going to have to make, a lot of this is going to be homegrown. You're going to need a lot of starters coming up, which is completely reasonable to think.
Well, names we've seen so far, besides the ones we just mentioned that will be in Tampa, at the other showcases, we've seen Landry Jones, Bishop Sankey, we've seen Fred Davis, Dexter McCluster was announced, Hakeem Nicks, Raheem Moore, Alameda Ta'amu, Hauli Kikaha, all guys with NFL experience. These guys are NFL players recently out of the league, and they were at showcases, Brian, and the showcases are where Tier 3 and 4 players are playing. I think just going by the names, even if those guys don't play in this league, the fact that they're there, among other guys who are even hungrier probably, bodes well for the league and the quality of the league.
No, definitely. I think the XFL has done a great job to try to maximize the amount of recognizable names during these showcases. Credit to Eric Galko and company and really putting these together. I mean, I can't say that enough about the work he's putting into this. And the XFL, since the beginning, has shown that they're serious about trying to get these teams and the quality of play and everything up to a specific standard that's going to help them grow after 2020. We also talked about the TV deal and how that affects a lot of these players. Think about these recognizable names that are now going to get some more recognition when they're on ESPN, ABC, Fox every weekend. That's just, people are going to pay attention to a Fred Davis or a Hakeem Nicks more so than anyone else in this league, and even more so when you're talking ESPN and the coverage that they're of the league.
Yeah, and let's also point out, you don't need two all-pro teams to have a competitive game. You're not going to get it all the time. Maybe if they two of them are going to come down to the wire and could possibly go in overtime. So you don't need all-star rosters to have the best games, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, and these are, again, Tier 3 and 4, and we've seen Super Bowl champions. We've seen college studs. And, of course, the rumor about Johnny Manziel, whether your opinion on him joining the league is a good thing or not, I mean, it's still in the name. So in terms of name value at the lower tier, we've got that. In terms of capable players at the lower tiers, we've got that. I am on the side of Eric Galko, Bryant, when he said on this show, I don't think of any of these players as being low-tier players. Though that's probably where they get signed, according to the commissioner. But, I mean, we could very well have already seen the XFL MVP work out at one of these camps. And even if it's a quarterback that's going to be a backup in this league, which I would say almost all except maybe 2 to 3 of the quarterbacks, just is just my hunch, at the showcases, will probably not be starters in the league. But running backs, receivers, great defensive players, we've seen those have been at these showcases. Strong players have been all over these showcases, 1 through 7, going into our last one in St. Louis.
Well, and also, it's not only just about the quality of the players that are going to help, the coaches. These coaches are fired up, they're ready, they're helping. We've heard some great names out there. They're going to help basically exploit these players' talents to their benefit. So it's going to be all well-rounded. I think they're taking their time to make sure they get this right, obviously, and the league just continues to put players in place for them to be successful, is how I can put it. Really, it's they're not waiting until just October to find all these players. They've been doing this for a long time now. They're doing these summer showcases, one, to get exposure for the league, two, to see if they can find that diamond in the rough. And I guarantee you, within these 800 or so players that they're bringing in for this for these summer showcases, they're going to find a couple diamonds in those roughs.
Oh yeah, there are going to be diamonds all over the place, and the names we've said in this segment I don't even think are those names. That's the cool thing about this, is that, they're going to find some great player you've never heard of, and hopefully it's one of those guys we've talked to already in our interviews that we put on the YouTube channel. That'll go a long way. But no, that's the beauty of these showcases, I think. You're getting some really recognizable guys, a ton of guys like Jake will even say, I've never heard of these guys. And the cool thing is, those guys are actually great football players who, for one reason or another, didn't get the chance. And the league's backbone will be the players at these showcases, the guys who round out the rosters and fight from the bottom. It's always the best story, Jake, and it's usually the hungriest player, and sometimes the talent just somehow fell under the radar. I truly believe that's going on, and that's why these showcases are so fantastic.
Yeah, I completely agree. You could have a once in a lifetime athlete making a comeback, or possibly a chance that he never really got. But you're just gonna have to wait till the season develops until you can really see the fruits of your labor. But yeah, I don't think you're gonna see bad football for 10 weeks.
With that said, an athlete like BJ Daniels at quarterback in this league, woo, could be very interesting. Maybe for a coach who can utilize that skill set to the fullest. Maybe a coach like June Jones, or maybe he would want a Ryan Mallett. A thumper like Matt Jones could do a lot for Coach Pep Hamilton Bryant, and how he talked about how he wants to run the ball hard there in D.C. You're talking about a running back who ran the ball hard in D.C. for Washington in the NFL.
Oh, definitely. I think some of these players, we haven't seen many of the coaches at any other showcases or other than their own. We might see a couple at this one just because of the quality of the players, but yeah, the coaches themselves are probably making up an entire roster based on the players that they've seen. So they're really only going to get better and better come the NFL cuts. I'm sure what I like the most is how some of these coaches are probably looking for specific players, and then you have Winston Moss on this side looking probably at all defensive guys and just saying, okay, let me see all the defensive guys on this side.
Who can win in a bar fight? That's what he's looking at.
But right, like again, some of these names I expect to see on the field in February come 2020 for sure.
All right, any inside info, Bryant? Winston Moss sending himself or Norm Chow to Tampa?
Alan, out of respect, I asked you not to ask me that question on the air.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know. I don't remember you asking me that. I don't
remember asking you that. I remember telling you that.
Oh, you did? Oh.
So you asked, I told. Is how it works.
I was totally zoning you out after you were arguing that quarterbacks should be a part of the draft. After you said that, I don't know. I kind of spaced, but that's... You and I, we've got some issues we've got to take care of, Bryant. Maybe we'll hash that out off air. No, it's all good.
You really want to take me after I made friends with Winston Moss? You really want to meet me on the 50-yard line?
Not for that uppercut.
You just watch out. Me and Kevin Gilbride, my longtime close personal friend, we're very balanced and even keel, and that'll get on your nerves. Yeah.
I didn't know Kevin Gilbride brought you on the field during drills for an interview. I didn't remember that. I don't remember hearing that.
Well, Alan, you're holding the show up right now.
You're right. All right, let's get out of here. No one said the road to 2020 wouldn't be rocky and strain relationships, but we're going to mend our fences here, Brian and I. We'll maybe toss back a cactus cooler or something, and we'll come back and we'll get on the same page. Probably not. This is the beauty of it. This is just one argument. Can you imagine when the games start, Bryant, how much you and I are going to be arguing against Vince and Jake about how great XFL LA is?
This is the XFL LA show, as you guys all know.
According to Norm Chow, but according to everyone else, it is the XFL Show, at XFL Show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. You want to find us, we're there at that handle, or just go to thisisthexflshow.com, or subscribe to the YouTube page, which is really, really picking up. Business is picking up on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe now, you're going to be in, and make sure you get those notifications. You'll be getting interviews, full shows, all sorts of content. Go straight to the YouTube. And of course, Patreon is the luxury way to ride down the road to 2020 and beyond. And you can go to that at patreon.com/thisisthexfl show. Jake, you got anything left before we get out of here?
No, not really. Thanks for everybody for giving the feedback, the constructive feedback on the article. Remember, if you haven't read it yet, go ahead over to the Patreon. It is free for anyone to read there.
Yes, it is. 100% free of charge. Bryant?
Alan, I will say this. I want to hype up something this week coming up. We do not have a summer showcase. It is the 4th of July. This is where America celebrates freedom, and this is where the XFL Show is going to give you the opportunity. This is it. This is what you've been waiting for. Seattle gave us a little hint. Well, now you give us the rest. We're going to put it out there, everyone. Decide. Tell us what you think all these team names should be. Call the XFL fan line, 724-565-4XFL. We're going to have a full show probably dedicated to team names next week. No summer showcase, so unless something else breaks, I think this is the time out that we're going to talk some team names.
We'll talk some team names, and also I've been saving this in my back pocket, and you guys didn't even know about this. Been plotting actually through text with Vince during the show, so excuse that, but it's big. Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You could join Vince, myself, and if Jake and Bryant want to join as well, we are going to be discussing back-end NFL quarterbacks we could see in the XFL, Bryant. How about that? A very special live show only on our Patreon. That's going to be live, 7:30 Eastern on This is the XFL Show's Patreon page for our Patreon subscribers. It will be coming out to the main feed later in the week, but if you want to hear it right away, and if you want to hear it live, become a patron. How about that? That's how you end on
Alan,
a bombshell.
For the sake of the show, for it to be successful and run fluidly, I will be on the show as long as you agree to not bring up how Tier 1 quarterbacks should be distributed in the XFL.
Every quarterback I discuss, I will be talking about how he should be given a contract before everybody else and get to decide where he plays. All right, so that's coming up next week. Lots of fun for the 4th of July week on our Patreon and on the main feed and on the YouTube channel. We're doing big things because things are getting bigger and bigger on the road to 2020. For Bryant, for Jake, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.
Thanks for watching and listening, XFL fans. Don't forget to tell us what you think in the comments below, or even better, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things XFL. Check out some of our other videos and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at XFL Show. This is the XFL Show is a production of Pretty Easy Podcasts.